Stop right there. Before you write another paragraph, before you record another defense, before you rehearse another speech in your mind for people who have already decided they do not want to understand you, ask yourself one question. Why do you need them to understand you so badly? Not, why do you want peace? Not, why do you want clarity? Not, why do you want to be honorable? Ask the deeper question. Why does their misunderstanding feel like a threat to your identity? Because many times what you are calling explanation is not explanation at all. It is disguised begging. You call it communication, but underneath it is a request for permission. You call it clarity, but underneath it is a cry that says, "Please approve of what God told me. Please agree with what I discerned. Please make me feel safe enough to obey." And that is where the danger begins. Because the moment obedience needs the signature of people who did not send you, your assignment becomes a hostage. Listen to me carefully. Purpose requires obedience, not permission. If God has assigned your life, then your first responsibility is not to be understood by everybody. Your first responsibility is to be faithful to the one who created you. You were not manufactured by popular opinion. You were not designed by the committee of everybody's feelings. You were not born from the vote of people who only see pieces of you and then pretend they understand the whole. This is why you are tired. You are not just tired because people ask questions. You are tired because you keep giving courtroom speeches to people who were never appointed as judges. You are tired because you keep trying to convince people who do not carry the grace to receive you. When you do not know who sent you, you become exhausted trying to persuade everybody to accept you. But when you know who sent you, you stop begging for authorization from people who are only spectators. Not everyone with an opinion has an assignment. Not everyone who questions you has the right to examine you. Not everyone who is curious is qualified. There is a difference between counsel and commentary. Counsel carries responsibility. Commentary carries curiosity. Counsel helps you grow. Commentary drains your spirit. Counsel is assigned to your development. Commentary is addicted to access. So stop handing sacred explanations to casual listeners. Stop confusing somebody's volume with authority. Stop assuming that because they asked, they are entitled. Some people are not asking so they can understand. They are asking so they can argue. They are asking so they can reduce. They are asking so they can pull your obedience down into the small room of their unbelief. If this teaching is already locating something in your spirit, stay with it. Receive it prayerfully. Let it correct you without condemning you. And if it helps you return to God's original design, subscribe so this kind of truth can keep strengthening your assignment. Because today we are breaking approval fatigue. Today we are confronting the hidden need for permission. Today you are going to learn that you do not owe unrestricted explanations to people God never authorized to govern your life. Now here is where people get confused. They think being misunderstood always means they failed to communicate. No. Sometimes being misunderstood means you are speaking to someone who was never assigned to your language. They do not have the capacity, the context, or the calling to interpret the season you are in. You are trying to explain a spiritual instruction to a casual mind. You are trying to describe a divine burden to someone who only understands convenience. You are trying to translate destiny to people who only speak preference. Stop punishing yourself because everybody cannot read you. A book is not wrong because a child cannot understand the chapter. A blueprint is not confused because a critic does not know how to build. A seed is not dead because someone standing above the ground cannot see the roots. Some people cannot understand you because they were never called to carry the weight of what God is doing in you. And if you keep forcing them to understand what they were not graced to interpret, you will turn your assignment into an argument. Listen carefully. Your explanation belongs to people who carry responsibility for your growth, not people who carry curiosity about your decisions. There is a difference between counsel and commentary. Counsel sharpens you. Commentary scatters you. Counsel comes with responsibility. Commentary comes with curiosity. Counsel asks questions to help you obey more clearly. Commentary asks questions to pull you into confusion. Counsel will confront you and still cover you. Commentary will interrogate you and then expose you. You need counsel. Don't misunderstand me. I am not telling you to become isolated, arrogant, unreachable, and uncorrectable. That is not wisdom. That is pride wearing spiritual language. Everybody needs correction. Everybody needs accountability. Everybody needs people who can say, check your spirit, watch your motive, slow down, pray again. You are moving from pain, not purpose. That is counsel. Counsel is a gift. Counsel is protection. Counsel is one of the ways God keeps your destiny from being destroyed by your blind spots. But commentary is not counsel. Commentary is noise with an opinion. Commentary has no responsibility for your becoming. Commentary does not pray for you, does not build with you, does not sacrifice for you, does not cover you, does not understand your history, and does not carry the burden of your future. Commentary wants access without investment. Commentary wants information without intercession. Commentary wants influence without assignment. And you must stop giving commentary the same seat you give counsel. Even Jesus modeled selective access. The crowd heard parables. The disciples heard explanations, and only a few were taken into certain moments of intimacy and weight. Everybody did not go up the mountain. Everybody did not enter the room. Everybody did not hear the same level of disclosure. Was Jesus being secretive? No, he was being wise. He understood that access must match assignment. He fed the crowd, trained the disciples, and revealed deeper things to the few who could carry them. That should teach you something. If the Son of God did not give equal access to everybody, why are you exhausting yourself trying to make every listener a confidant? Why are you giving sacred explanations to casual observers? Why are you allowing people who are only passing through your life to cross-examine decisions that were born in prayer, pain, and obedience? When you explain too much to the wrong people, you place your peace on trial in a court God never convened. Some of you are not tired because your assignment is heavy. You are tired because you keep dragging your assignment into rooms where it has to be defended instead of developed. You keep presenting your blueprint to people who do not want to build. They want to inspect. They want to criticize. They want to compare. They want to reduce what God gave you until it becomes small enough for them to respect. But hear me. If they require you to shrink your assignment before they honor it, they are not builders in your life. Misunderstanding is not always a failure. Sometimes misunderstanding is a filter. It shows you who has capacity and who only has curiosity. It shows you who is assigned and who is entertained. It shows you who can walk with you and who only wants to watch you. Stop crying over every person who cannot receive your language. Their inability to understand you may be God's way of protecting you from giving them access to what they would have damaged. So be discerning. Speak where there is responsibility. Explain where there is covenant. Open your heart where there is wisdom, maturity, and spiritual authority. But do not pour the oil of your assignment into the hands of people who only came to examine the bottle. Your peace is too valuable. Your purpose is too sacred. Your obedience is too important. Not every listener is assigned to your language. And once you understand that, you stop living offended by their confusion. You simply keep walking with those who are called to understand the sound of your season. Rule number 1. Stop defending what God already defined. I need you to hear that with your spirit, not just your ears. Stop defending what God already defined. What God has established does not become more true because people finally agree with it. Divine design does not need human approval to become valid. Your purpose did not begin when they understood you. Your calling did not become real when they clapped for it. Your identity was not waiting in the hands of people who did not create you. You were designed by a manufacturer, and the manufacturer always determines the function of the product. A chair does not ask the table what it was built to do. A watch does not explain time to the shelf before it starts ticking. A seed does not negotiate with the soil about whether it has permission to become a tree. It simply obeys what was placed inside of it. The product does not explain its purpose to the shelf. It fulfills the intention of the manufacturer. And this is where many people are losing years of their lives. You keep explaining because you keep asking people to confirm what God already spoke over you. You keep going back to people, hoping they will say, "Yes, you are called. Yes, you are gifted. Yes, you are allowed to change. Yes, you are allowed to grow. Yes, you are allowed to leave that season. Yes, you are allowed to become who God made you to be." But listen to me. If God already defined you, their confirmation is not your foundation. It may encourage you, but it must never govern you. Explanation is not always wisdom. Sometimes explanation is insecurity wearing a suit. Sometimes what sounds like maturity is really fear dressed in respectable language. You say, "I just want them to understand." No, sometimes you want them to approve. You say, "I just want to be clear." No, sometimes you want to be safe from criticism. Clarity is powerful, but compulsive defense is bondage. Communication is healthy, but begging to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you is captivity. Do not misunderstand me. I am not telling you to be reckless. I am not telling you to refuse accountability. I am not telling you to ignore wise counsel. But there is a difference between giving clarity to those affected by your decision and defending your existence to those offended by your growth. There is a difference between explaining a decision to someone who carries responsibility and negotiating your identity with someone who only carries an opinion. One is wisdom, the other is slavery. So ask yourself, where have you been negotiating what God already defined? Is it in your relationships? Are you explaining why you need boundaries to people who benefited from you having none? Is it in your career? Are you defending a move God told you to make because someone else is more comfortable with the old version of you? Is it in your obedience? Are you delaying what God commanded because people who never prayed about it are confused by it? Maybe it is in your spiritual growth. You are becoming more disciplined, more focused, more consecrated, and now you feel the need to explain why you no longer enjoy what used to entertain you. Stop right there. Growth does not owe an apology to your past. Transformation does not need permission from people who preferred you broken, distracted, and available. When God begins to redefine your appetite, your pace, your circle, and your standards, everybody who enjoyed your dysfunction will call your deliverance pride. Maybe it is leadership. Maybe it is a personal transformation. Maybe it is the decision to stop being small so others can feel large. Whatever it is, stop bringing God's definition to the courtroom of human opinion. What God has defined does not need to survive the vote of people who did not create you. The Creator spoke before the critics arrived. The manufacturer designed before the market reacted. Heaven assigned before people commented. So stand there. Stand in what God said. Stand in what He placed in you. Stand when they question it. Stand when they misunderstand it. Stand when they call it too much, too soon, too bold, too different. You are not being arrogant when you obey God without begging for human authorization. You are being aligned. And when you are aligned, you do not have to defend every dimension of your becoming. You simply become. Rule number 2. Show your blueprint to builders, not critics. Once you understand that God has already defined you, the next question is not, who likes the blueprint? The next question is, who is assigned to build with me? Because liking is not building. Applauding is not building. Commenting is not building. Some people can admire the idea and still have no assignment to help carry the weight of it. You must become discerning now. You cannot be childish with sacred things. When God gives you a blueprint, He is not giving you entertainment. He is giving you responsibility. A blueprint is not a decoration. A blueprint is a plan for construction. It shows measurements, timing, materials, foundations, and structure. And if you put a blueprint in the hands of a builder, he sees possibility. He sees sequence. He sees what must come first, what must be strengthened, what must be corrected, and what must be protected. But if you put that same blueprint in the hands of a critic, he does not build with it. He uses it as ammunition. That is why the wrong audience can turn your assignment into an argument before it becomes evidence. Before there is fruit, before there is structure, before there is proof, before there is visible manifestation, all you may have is a word, a burden, a vision, a conviction, a direction. And if you keep exposing what is still forming to people who have no responsibility for the outcome, they will start speaking into your construction site with fear, jealousy, confusion, and limitation. Stop right there. I know what you are thinking, but I do not want to seem secretive. I do not want people to think I am arrogant. I do not want them to say I am acting strange. Let them talk. Secrecy is not always fear. Sometimes secrecy is stewardship. Boundaries are not arrogance. Boundaries are protection. Boundaries are not rejection. Boundaries are wisdom. You do not put wet cement in the middle of traffic and then complain that everybody left footprints in it. You protect what is not yet settled. There are things God is forming in you that cannot survive casual handling. Not because they are weak, but because they are early. A seed is powerful, but you do not keep digging it up to prove to people that it is growing. A child in the womb is alive, but it must be covered until the appointed time of delivery. The fact that something is real does not mean it is ready for exposure. The fact that God spoke it does not mean everybody gets to inspect it. You need builders. Builders are different. Builders correct without crushing. They can tell you the truth without trying to destroy your confidence. They can question you without mocking you. They can challenge your timing without insulting your calling. They can say, "Pray again," without trying to control you. They can say, "That part needs maturity," without making you feel like the whole vision is invalid. Builders do not make you more dependent on them. Builders make you more obedient to God. That is how you identify them. A builder will not replace God in your life. A builder will point you back to God. A builder will not use access to dominate you. A builder will use access to strengthen you. A builder does not need to be the owner of your blueprint in order to help you build. They respect the fact that God is the architect. They understand that their role is support, counsel, correction, prayer, wisdom, and accountability, not control. Critics are different. Critics want the blueprint so they can find reasons it cannot work. Critics ask questions that weaken your faith instead of sharpening your obedience. Critics are experts in what they have never built. They have opinions about foundations they never laid, doors they never opened, walls they never raised, and weight they never carried. And if you are not careful, you will give your construction plans to someone whose only skill is demolition. Listen to me. Do not confuse loudness with wisdom. Do not confuse age with assignment. Do not confuse familiarity with authority. Some people have known you for years and still do not know what God placed inside of you. Some people love the old version of you so much that they will fight the new structure God is building. They do not hate you. They just do not have the capacity to bless what they cannot control. So guard the blueprint. Guard the early stages. Guard the language God gave you. Guard the instructions He whispered to you in prayer. Show it to builders, not critics. Bring it to people who carry responsibility, spiritual maturity, and proven fruit. Bring it to people who can handle your becoming without needing to own it. Your assignment does not need to be argued into existence. It needs to be built into evidence. Stop explaining the foundation to people standing there with hammers of unbelief. Stop inviting fear into your construction site. Stop letting confusion hold the measuring tape. Build with those who are assigned. Walk with those who are wise. And let the critics wait outside until the structure speaks for itself. Rule number 3. Refuse the courtroom of public opinion. You cannot build your assignment while living as a defendant in the minds of people God never made your judge. Hear me carefully. Some of you are not tired because the work is heavy. You are tired because you have been carrying imaginary court cases in your mind. You wake up preparing arguments. You go to sleep rehearsing defenses. You are in the shower explaining yourself to people who have not even asked. You are driving down the road answering accusations that may never come. Your body is present, but your mind is standing before a jury of faces, opinions, assumptions, and fears. That is approval fatigue. It is not just being tired, it is being drained by the need to be interpreted correctly by everybody. It is the exhaustion of living under invisible cross-examination. You prepare your opening statement. You gather evidence. You predict their accusations. You defend your motives. You explain your timing. You justify your silence. You clarify your boundaries. You answer questions they have not asked and apologize for offenses they have not named. Then, before anybody has even spoken, you sentence yourself to guilt, anxiety, and delay. Stop right there. Who appointed them judge? Who gave them the robe? Who put the gavel in their hand? Who told you that their opinion had the authority to interrupt your obedience? Some people are only loud in your imagination because you keep giving them a courtroom in your spirit. You have made them bigger internally than they are externally. They are not sitting on a throne. They are not holding your destiny. They are not the manufacturer. They are not the sender. They are not the source. They are spectators with opinions, and you are treating them like judges with jurisdiction. Let me tell you something. The enemy does not always stop purpose with sin. Sometimes he stops purpose with explanation fatigue. He knows if he can make you explain long enough, defend long enough, worry long enough, rehearse long enough, and argue long enough, you will have no energy left to obey. You will be too emotionally exhausted to build, too mentally cluttered to hear God, too distracted to execute, too busy proving your heart to people to actually use your hands for the work. That is a strategy. The enemy does not need to make you wicked if he can make you weary. He does not need to make you rebellious if he can make you obsessed with being understood. He does not need to destroy your assignment if he can bury it beneath 1,000 explanations. And some of you have been delayed not because God changed his mind, but because you keep stopping at every voice on the road to prove why you are walking. Popularity demands constant interpretation. Peace allows silent obedience. Popularity says, explain it again, clarify it again, defend it again. Make sure everybody sees your heart. Peace says, obey God and keep moving. Popularity keeps checking the crowd. Peace keeps checking the instruction. Popularity is addicted to applause. Peace is anchored in assignment. And peace is better than popularity. Peace is better than being understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. Peace is better than winning arguments that cost you focus. Peace is better than having everybody's approval and losing your inner authority. Do not misunderstand me. If you harmed someone, make it right. If your decision affects someone, speak with honor. If you are under proper authority, receive counsel. But not every accusation deserves a response. Not every question deserves access. Not every misunderstanding deserves a meeting. Some cases must be dismissed because the court has no jurisdiction. Some voices must be silenced because they are not assigned to your growth. Some opinions must be left unanswered because answering them would be disobedience to your focus. You must learn to dismiss unauthorized cases. When fear brings an accusation, dismiss it. When gossip demands an explanation, dismiss it. When insecurity asks you to prove that you are called, dismiss it. When people who never prayed for you want to interrogate what God spoke to you, dismiss it. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. You do not have to report to every person who is curious. You do not have to keep opening your spirit to people who only come to cross-examine your peace. Refuse the courtroom. Step out of the witness stand. Put down the evidence. Stop writing speeches for people who have already chosen their verdict. Your assignment needs your obedience more than your explanation. Your future needs your discipline more than your defense. Your peace needs boundaries more than applause. Let them think what they think. Let them say what they say. Let them misunderstand what they have no authority to manage. You were not sent to be approved by the crowd. You were sent to obey God. So stop living as a defendant in unauthorized minds. Walk out of that courtroom. Return to the construction site. Pick up your tools. Build with the assigned. Obey in silence. And let the structure rising from your life answer what your mouth is tired of fighting. Rule number 4. Let fruit answer what your mouth keeps fighting. There comes a point where your explanation must become execution. There comes a point where your defense must become discipline. There comes a point where you stop trying to prove the seed and start developing the root. Because when your life becomes fruitful, you will not need to keep defending the seed. Silence is not weakness when silence is filled with preparation. Silence is not fear when silence is filled with discipline. Silence is not defeat when silence is filled with study, healing, prayer, fasting, planning, building, and execution. Do not confuse quietness with emptiness. The womb is quiet, but something is forming. The soil is quiet, but something is growing. The workshop is quiet, but something is being built. Noise is not proof of progress. Sometimes noise is the announcement of insecurity. Sometimes silence is the evidence of wisdom. Stop right there. I know what you are thinking, but if I do not explain it, they will think I am wrong. If I do not announce it, they will think nothing is happening. If I do not defend it, they will think I have failed. Let them think. You are too addicted to being interpreted in the middle of your process. You want people to clap for a seed that has not become a tree. You want people to respect a root they cannot see. You want people to celebrate fruit that has not yet come to season. That is immaturity. The more undeveloped a thing is, the more protection it requires. A seed does not explain itself underground. It does not stand up in the soil and give a speech about what kind of tree it is going to become. It does not argue with the dirt. It does not defend itself against the darkness. It does not apologize because nobody can see its progress. It grows roots. It uses the darkness correctly. It allows pressure to produce depth. It allows covering to produce strength. And when the time is right, what was hidden begins to break through. The fruit comes, and the argument ends without a speech. That is what you must learn. Birth is public, but formation is private. Delivery may be celebrated, but development must be protected. Everybody can see the baby after it is born, but everybody cannot touch the child while it is forming in the womb. There are seasons where exposure is dangerous because the thing is real but not ready. Stop announcing every intention. Stop posting every instruction. Stop explaining every move before it has maturity, structure, and strength. Some dreams die because they were discussed before they were developed. Some assignments are delayed because they were exposed to opinions before they had roots. Fruit has a voice. You may not believe it now because you have been trained to think your mouth is your only defense. But fruit speaks. Character will speak. Consistency will speak. Results will speak. Peace will speak. Maturity will speak. Obedience will speak. A disciplined life speaks louder than a defensive mouth. A healed spirit speaks louder than a perfect explanation. A consistent walk speaks louder than 1,000 announcements. When God begins to produce fruit through your obedience, people will not need your speech to know something has changed. Do not waste your energy trying to convince people that you are growing. Grow. Do not waste your strength trying to persuade people that you are serious. Become serious. Do not spend your days explaining that you are called. Obey the call. Let the fruit answer. Let your discipline answer. Let your peace answer. Let your consistency answer. Let the way you handle pressure answer. Let the way you forgive answer. Let the way you build when nobody is clapping answer. And if this is the truth you are choosing to live, write it where you can see it. Say it until your spirit agrees with it. And if you are watching, put it in the comments. I will let my fruit speak. Not my fear, not my insecurity, not my need to be understood, my fruit. I will let my fruit speak. I will let God's original purpose produce evidence in my life. I will stop fighting with my mouth what my obedience is assigned to answer. So go back underground if you must. Go back to prayer. Go back to study. Go back to healing. Go back to discipline. Go back to the private place where roots are formed. Do not despise hidden seasons. Do not curse quiet seasons. Do not panic because nobody sees what God is doing. If the seed is real, the fruit is coming. And when the fruit comes, you will not have to explain the seed anymore. Rule number 5. Do not confuse rejection with redirection. I need you to hear this carefully, because this is where many people bleed quietly. You are not always explaining because you love clarity. Sometimes you are explaining because rejection touched a wound in you. Sometimes you keep talking because you are afraid that if they reject your explanation, they are rejecting your worth. You think, if they do not understand me, maybe I am wrong. If they walk away, maybe I am not valuable. If they do not approve, maybe I have missed God. Stop right there. Their inability to receive you is not always evidence that something is wrong with you. Rejection from the wrong people can be protection for the right assignment. Let me say it again. Rejection from the wrong people can be protection for the right assignment. Sometimes God allows certain people not to understand you because if they understood enough to stay, they would attach themselves to something they were never assigned to carry. Their misunderstanding becomes a gate. Their silence becomes a filter. Their walking away becomes mercy. You were calling it abandonment, but God was calling it separation. You were calling it loss, but God was calling it protection. Do not chase people who walked away from your obedience. If you must abandon your assignment to keep their approval is too expensive. If you must shrink to remain accepted, that acceptance is captivity. If you must disobey God to stay connected to them, that connection is not fellowship, it is bondage. Some people only accept the version of you that does not threaten their comfort, expose their stagnation, or require them to grow. They do not want your assignment. They want your availability. They do not want your obedience. They want your old predictability. Assignment has direction. Purpose is not random movement. Purpose has roads. Purpose has seasons. Purpose has people. Purpose has places. Purpose has responsibilities. And every closed ear is not failure. Sometimes it is divine redirection. Sometimes the ear that refuses you is moving you toward the heart that can receive what you carry. Sometimes the door that shuts is not punishment. It is protection from a room that would have drained you, delayed you, and demanded explanations you were never assigned to give. Now here is where people get confused. They think rejection means stop. No. Rejection from the wrong place may mean go. They think silence means God has left them. No. The silence is not abandonment. The wait is not waste. The hidden season is not punishment. It is preparation for wait. God does not expose prematurely what He is still strengthening privately. Roots grow in silence. Character grows in pressure. Discernment grows in disappointment. You thought the delay was denying you. No, the delay was developing you. You are being trained to stop making people your proof. You are being trained to stop using acceptance as confirmation. You are being trained to obey without applause, build without agreement, and continue without emotional permission from people who were never assigned to your future. That is maturity. Immaturity needs everybody to understand before it moves. Maturity hears God and moves with honor, wisdom, and discipline. So let them misunderstand what they cannot steward. Let them reject what they were not assigned to receive. Let them walk away if staying requires you to betray your instruction. Do not become bitter. Do not become hard. Do not become arrogant. Just become obedient. Keep your spirit clean. Keep your hands on the work. Keep your ear tuned to God. The same rejection that wounded your feelings may be the redirection that saved your destiny. You are not losing everyone. You are being aligned with the right ones. You are not being buried. You are being rooted. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. Do not run after every closed ear. Walk toward the assigned place. Walk toward the prepared people. Walk toward the responsibility that can receive the weight of what God placed in you. Because when God redirects you, He is not taking purpose from you. He is protecting purpose in you. Now you need a filter. Because discernment is not suspicion. Discernment is stewardship. You cannot keep giving full explanations to everybody with a question. Curiosity is not a credential. Concern is not always authority. Familiarity is not always assignment. Before you open your mouth, before you defend the decision, before you expose the process, before you hand someone the private language of your obedience, ask 3 questions. Are they responsible for my growth? Are they affected by my decision? Are they authorized by God to counsel me? If the answer is no, no, and no, then they may deserve kindness, but they do not deserve access. They may deserve respect, but they do not deserve your inner courtroom. They may deserve a peaceful tone, but they do not deserve the blueprint. Access to your explanation must be governed by responsibility, impact, and divine authorization. Responsible people may deserve context. These are the people who have proven commitment to your maturity, not just interest in your choices. They pray for you. They correct you with love. They can see your weakness without using it as a weapon. They are not impressed by your gift while ignoring your character. They care about the whole you. Those people may deserve context because they carry responsibility for your development. Do not shut out people God placed in your life to sharpen you. Pride rejects correction. Wisdom receives it. Affected people may deserve communication. If your decision touches their life, their household, their work, their responsibility, or their trust, then honor requires communication. You do not call secrecy spirituality when other people are carrying consequences from your choices. That is not discernment. That is immaturity. Speak with honor. Speak with clarity. Speak without manipulation. But hear me. Communication is not the same as surrendering authority. You can explain impact without opening the decision for control. Authorized counsel may deserve vulnerability. These are not just people with opinions. These are people with spiritual weight, proven fruit, clean motives, and divine assignment. They do not need to own you to help you. They do not need to control the outcome to counsel the process. When they speak, your spirit recognizes correction without condemnation. Your faith becomes clearer. Your obedience becomes stronger. Your motives become cleaner. That is counsel. Counsel sharpens you. Commentary distracts you. Everyone else may only deserve kindness and silence. Let me say that again. Everyone else may only deserve kindness and silence. You do not have to be rude to have boundaries. You do not have to become cold to become clear. You do not have to dishonor people to stop over-explaining to them. Smile if you must. Speak peacefully if you can. But do not hand sacred access to unauthorized curiosity. And watch for weaponized access. If someone uses your vulnerability to shame you, reduce their access. If they use your honesty to control you, reduce their access. If they use your explanation to delay your obedience, reduce their access. If every conversation leaves you confused, guilty, smaller, and farther from what God told you to do. That is not counsel. That is captivity. Do not keep calling a cage a relationship because you are afraid of losing approval. Stop right there. I know what you are thinking, but I want to stay humble. Good, stay humble. But humility is not self-betrayal. Humility can receive correction. Self-betrayal keeps apologizing for becoming who God designed you to be. Humility says, "Lord, search me." Self-betrayal says, "People approve me." Humility bows before God. Self-betrayal bends before every opinion. Humility is teachable. Self-betrayal is negotiable. And your assignment cannot survive if your obedience is always for sale. So practice the sentence. Say it calmly. Say it with honor. Say it without anger. I appreciate your concern, but I am obeying the direction God has given me, and I am not opening this decision for debate. That is not arrogance. That is order. That is not rebellion. That is clarity. That is not pride. That is stewardship. You must stop explaining upward to people beneath the assignment. You must stop explaining deeply to people handling you shallowly. You must stop giving private access to public spectators. Ask the 3 questions. Are they responsible for my growth? Are they affected by my decision? Are they authorized by God to counsel me? If not, keep your peace. Keep your posture. Keep moving. Because not everyone who asks for an explanation has been assigned to receive one. Now start living like you have already been sent. Not like you are waiting to be approved. Not like you are standing outside the door hoping someone validates your instruction. Not like your future is being held hostage by somebody's opinion. When you know you have been sent by God, you stop begging to be understood by people who were never assigned to walk with you. This is where the teaching must become a decision. Stop seeking permission for what God already commanded. Discern the assignment. Guard the blueprint. Show it to builders, not critics. Leave the courtroom of public opinion. Let fruit answer what your mouth keeps fighting. Stop confusing rejection with redirection. Filter access with wisdom. Ask who is responsible, who is affected, and who is authorized. Then move. Not arrogantly, not rebelliously, not carelessly. Move with peace, with discipline, with honor, and with courage. Stop right there. I know what you are thinking. But what if they never understand? Then they never understand. Understanding is not always required for obedience. Agreement is not always required for movement. Applause is not always required for assignment. If God has spoken, your responsibility is not to keep negotiating with people until they feel comfortable. Your responsibility is to obey the one who sent you. You were not created by committee. You were not designed by opinion. You were not manufactured by the crowd. So stop submitting your destiny to people who did not design your life. You are not random. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake looking for permission to exist. You are not on trial. You are not required to shrink your obedience so insecure people can feel comfortable. You are not required to make your calling smaller so critics can feel wiser. You are not required to explain every step to people who have no responsibility for the weight you carry. You are assigned. You are designed. You are sent. And when a person is sent, he does not keep returning to the crowd to ask if the instruction is acceptable. This week, I want you to practice obedience in a real place. Refuse one unnecessary explanation. Just one. When the old fear rises and says, "Defend yourself," choose peace. When insecurity says, "Make them understand," choose silence. When pride says, "Prove them wrong," choose discipline. Close one unauthorized courtroom. Dismiss one imaginary case. Stop rehearsing one argument in your mind. Take that saved energy and give it back to prayer. Give it back to healing. Give it back to study. Give it back to planning. Give it back to execution. Your assignment has been starving, while your anxiety has been eating all your strength. Walk in peace. Work in silence. Obey with courage. Let your life become the evidence that God knew what He was doing when He designed you. Let your character speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your fruit speak. Let your peace speak. Let the structure rising from your obedience answer every voice that demanded premature explanations. You do not have to announce every move. You do not have to defend every decision. You do not have to convince every spectator. Build, heal, pray, prepare, execute. Keep your heart clean and your hands faithful. And remember this: the need to constantly explain yourself is often the hidden need for permission. But you do not need permission from people who were not assigned to your growth, affected by your decision, or authorized to counsel you. You need alignment with God. You need discipline in your process. You need courage in your obedience. You need boundaries around your peace. If this teaching helped you return to God's original purpose, share it with someone who is tired of begging to be understood. Subscribe if you are choosing to grow in identity, purpose, character, and kingdom responsibility. And in the comments, declare the truth you are choosing to live. I am not on trial. I am assigned.